What is up? You are listening to HVAC Masters of the Hustle podcast. And here's your host, J Dub Moneymaker. And welcome to episode 213 for all the listeners out there. Man, I just got to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sending me emails and text message threads of how this podcast is bringing you and your company to the next level. As we like to put heavy hitters in the trades to talk about what they had to endure to get to the level of success that they are today. And I have a great episode for you all today. I'm going to pop his cherry because this is the first podcast he's ever been on. He's going to be blowing up after this, where multiple podcasters are going to be wanting him to get into the hot seat because he has created a monster company in California, Cucamonga, California. Let's go ahead and welcome the one, the only Anthony Cafagna into the hot seat. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great, Jason. I really appreciate you hit me up on Facebook and get me out of my shell. And I'm just really excited to be on here and join you today.
Absolutely. You know, we've been talking for a couple months and I really had to crack the egg on this one and really get him outside his comfort zone. So for everyone that's tuning in, this is a real treat because he's told me no multiple times. And here he is today. And I'm super excited because what you have created is, like I said, a monster. And for those of you that don't know, he has the company All City Plumbing in California. And let's talk about your journey before, starting your own company. How did you get into the trades?
So I got into trades right out of high school. I went to college. The high school that I went to, which may be aligned with most high schools, they really push you to go to college. Okay, so I graduated high school, and I barely graduated, by the way. My senior year, I was failing a class and actually entered the point of no return where I was going to fail and not be able to graduate. But my teacher was really nice to me, and she was like, "Okay, listen, you bring a box of tissues and some dry erase markers, and I'll give you some extra credit points, and I'll graduate you." So thank God, thank goodness, she was so nice, and she was able to let me turn in these items for extra credit, and I was able to graduate. But so I barely graduated. But the thing is that the way the schools are designed, it's like college, college, college. Like if you don't go to college, you're not going to be able to feed yourself. So I was like, oh man, I barely graduated high school, but like the word on the street is if you don't get a degree, you're going to starve to death.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my goodness. So I went to junior college, a local one, and kind of put around there for a little bit. But it's just, the thing is that it was always hard for me. The reason why I didn't excel in school is that it was a real challenge for me to pay attention. It's not that I was like dumb. I just really, it was just hard for me to pay
You
attention.
just wasn't interested.
Yeah, I wasn't interested. So, but I floundered around at JC for a couple of years, and then I was like, you know what? Let me get into the trades. My parents bought a fixer-upper house, and I feel like that kind of influenced me because they had all kinds of people come into the home and fix the roof, fix the plumbing, fix everything, right? Because it was a fixer-upper house. And just seeing so many contractors go in the home, it just kind of made me think, let me get into the trades. So that was the journey. And
What year was that?
so that was I graduated in 2002, and I went to JC for about 2 years. So yeah, I'm sure that was around 2004. And I entered the trades as an apprentice at 20 years old.
All right. So you enter the trades at 20 years old. Do you go to a company or did you end up, going to school, graduate from the trade school and say, I'm going to start something on my own?
Yeah. So was so funny. So at this point, I'm just like, I'm over school. I'm like, no more school. But the first trade I thought of was air conditioning. So I went and applied at all these air conditioning companies. And they're like, you have to go to another junior college and take this class. And I'm like, man, I'm over school. Like, that's why I'm here. Like I'm here because I'm over school. And but basically, I quickly realized the whole air conditioning thing wasn't going to happen for me at that point in time because I wasn't willing to commit to go to JC for another 16, 18 months. I was like, I'm good on all that. And I applied at plumbing companies, and every single plumbing company I applied at was willing to hire me, and they said that they would pay me to train.
Nice. So when throughout your ventures and everything like that, what has been your most challenging hurdle?
I mean, without a doubt, my most challenging hurdle was to believe that I can do it. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was it.
Now talk to some of my Spartans out there that might be having that challenging belief of really believing in them that they're able to go conquer the world, right?
Mhm.
To think outside this mindset of being stuck in the same ways every single day and being comfortable. Talk about what was it that was your trigger point to really just move forward and take that gamble and that risk?
Yeah, so this would I'll go into that story, but the first part is for the Spartans out there, is that you need to find someone that's successful that you resonate with. You need to find someone that has a similar story to you. Okay, so the thing is that there's all these businesses that blow up, but it's like if an accountant starts the business, I'm already not listening, right? Or if this
Mhm.
person did the business, I'm already not listening. So I was a technician that started a company that knew nothing about business. So when someone tells a story like that, when their story starts off like that, I'm listening, right? So for the Spartans out there, you need to listen. I mean, it's just, it will resonate if you can listen to someone that was a salesman struggling. Next thing you know, they learned a process, they got the coaching, they became committed, they read some, like, once you start hearing that story and you're like, dude, this dude is just like me, that's when things start clicking, because that's the problem. Like, and that's what everybody says, they struggle and then things click. Well, things are going to click a lot faster when you're listening to a person that's just like you.
100%. Talking about who you surround yourself by. A lot of people on social media or influencers out there, they talk about the five that you surround yourself with. Talk about the importance of who you surround yourself with or networking and really tying yourself to really elevate yourself and your skill level to the next level.
Yeah, so for me, I surround myself in best practice organizations. I'm a part of at least five of them. So, and I dig deep and I try to learn the most from each one that I possibly can. When we bring on new people, I try to learn from them and see like what's going on with their last company, what they like, what they dislike. I just pretty much like a sponge. I try to learn from everybody. There's all these heavy hitters out there putting out books. I'll read a book. I just whatever it takes for me to consume information, because that's what it's all about. You need to consume information, you need to water your mind flower, what I'm saying? Just
Yep.
sprinkle some water of knowledge on this thing and then take action. Because if you can, the first part is believing that you can do it, right? But then you need to water your mind flower and then take action. If you can just do those things, you can pretty much do whatever you want in this life, in my opinion.
One thing I want to talk about is you said that you're part of five practices, right? So that means you're always investing. You're investing in yourself, you're investing in your team. There's some companies out there that don't invest in themselves. What have you seen as a business owner that once you started, going to these best practices and implementing what they're doing, what was the outcome of what you saw inside your own company?
It was it was life changing. Like the most expensive thing is not knowing. That's really important to drill that down. Like nothing costs more than not knowing. When I first joined my first best practice organization, I was like, oh my God, 30 grand, and then you got to pay for people to go to the schools and all this stuff. And I was all afraid of the price, but like that was like a penny. Like every best practice organization, every sales class you can take, everything you take, they're charging pennies because nothing costs more than not knowing. Not knowing will cost you millions of dollars. And so
Oh,
what they charge is like, that's why I'm a part of so many. I'm a part of five. And when they tell me their fee, I'm like, dude, I don't give a crap about your pennies you're charging me. I'm going to make millions.
absolutely. And that's the mindset that you need right there. So
Yeah.
so what triggered that type of mindset for you? Because there's too many business owners. I mean, I'm a national trainer, right? So I talk to them all the time, different owners throughout the nation, and there's owners like yourself, but then there's a lot of listeners right now that like to hold on and hold back.
Yeah. So the one thing I would, say to owners like that, they're not investing. It's like, I would say, just look at your track record. Usually, if an owner is not investing in themselves and they're not investing in their people, you're going to see that they stay flat year over year. So I would, have a conversation like that, like, the last 5 years, what does your growth look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would try to, transition into, like, like someone like me. I invested money and then I started growing. And you see this story, like my story is not unique. There's lots of people in our industry, they struggle, they stay flat, and then there's a breaking point, and then after the breaking point, they always acquire specialized knowledge. They acquire specialized knowledge, and there's many different ways to get that knowledge, but they acquire specialized knowledge, and then they take action, and then boom, they're off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was, in your shoes, maybe talking to basically a stubborn owner, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense not to invest in yourself and not to invest in your people, because from what I found from investing in myself and my people, if you want to like double your business, you need to like, you need to 10x yourself. Like, so that's the commitment. You need to like 10x yourself to maybe 1x the company. So you really got to work on yourself big time.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that. One thing that you keep mentioning is taking action, which is very important because you could go to as many trainings as you want to. You could be as part of
Yeah.
as many business practices. But if you're not implementing or taking action, there's no reason to be a part of it. Right.
Right.
So talk about the importance of actually doing the action behind it, not just showing up.
Yeah. So one of the things maybe to get people motivated is that when you're a smaller company, you really don't have to do much to double. Okay. So I guess I can kind of go into my story to maybe motivate people to take action, because I really think sometimes people don't get started because they think they're gonna have to climb Mount Everest. Like you don't.
The big
When you
mountain.
yeah, you don't need to climb Mount Everest. Like when you're a smaller company or starting off in sales, you don't really have. You're doing so much wrong, and there's so many good things that you're not doing that you should do. You do a couple of these things, and then boom, you're doubled. Boom, your sales doubled. Boom, your business doubled. So it really doesn't take a whole lot of implementation to really just get it cracking.
1% a day, right?
Yeah,
By the end of the year, that's how much more better?
exactly.
300 something percent.
So for example, for a salesman, if there's a salesman that, and another thing too, if there's a lot of salesmen listening to this, you shouldn't have to wait for the company to invest in you. You need to invest in yourself, because salesmen can make dude, a
Insane
top
money.
salesman can make way more than most business owners. Let me say that again. A top salesman can make way, way more than most business owners. And then the salesmen get the days off and they don't have the stress. Like, it's crazy. So
Mhm.
if you can make money as a salesman, I mean, I'm just putting things in perspective.
Absolutely. One thing that I want to talk about is you said that there's a lot of knowledge in books, which I believe. I mean, I got a stack of books right here that I'm trying to read. I try to read two books a week.
That's good.
So with that being said, you seem like you're always gaining knowledge, books and everything like that. What books do you recommend for some of my listeners that have been the most impact for yourself and your business?
Yeah, so I guess I can kind of, start off with my story where at 20 years old, do you want me to tell the whole story? My
Absolutely.
story?
Let's hear it.
It takes exactly 8 minutes for me to tell the story. So,
Let's go.
all right, all right. So, like I said, I was going to a JC, and then I was like, I'm over school. And then I found a plumbing company that would actually pay me to learn. So I was like, heck yeah, this is amazing, right? I'm going to get paid to learn versus paying someone and you're not getting paid,
Yep.
for the school thing.
The opposite of the college.
Yeah, I was like, this is the opposite. Like, you're going to pay me to learn? Oh my, I didn't even know that existed. I was all excited. And but the company that I worked at, which is really, the story I'm going to tell you is kind of funny, just to put things in perspective. This company got up to 147 vans, and they had 10 shops. They were killing it out here in SoCal. They were like the biggest thing. And the reason why I found them was because they had this is the phone book days. Okay, I'm dating myself. I'm old over here. This is the phone book days. They had like the double truck with a big old pull out, and I was like, oh my god, this is the ultimate company. They got the extra special tab, and it's all laminated and shiny, and they got the double truck. I was like, this is the company. You have to be doing good if you got that big old ad, right? So anyway, I go work there, and the way that they operate is they basically have you just ride around with somebody and learn on the job, right? But the problem is the people that I learned with. The after the 2 weeks of riding with my first person, this guy was terminated and caught smoking crystal meth underneath the customer's home. And of course, the company I worked at frowned upon that behavior. So They gave him the boot. And then the next person I rode around with, I only rode around with him for about 2 weeks. And this guy enjoyed smoking blunts in between jobs, like driving around, listening to music real loud, smoking blunts, like living like some kind of like thug life as a plumber. I don't know what he was doing. But then this guy enjoyed drinking alcoholic beverages on the lunch. So I went from like crystal meth to smoking blunts and drinking tall cans, right, on the lunch break.
Yeah.
So this was
A great trainer.
I was like, yeah, but I'm new to the trade, and I'm just thankful they're paying me. Like I'm getting
Yeah.
paid to learn. I used to pay to learn, and get paid. So I'm just trying to like be thankful for things, and I'm gonna make the best of the situation, right? But within 1 month in, the service manager comes in the office and starts talking to me. He's like, "Guess what, Anthony? You're promoted to a plumber," and he hands me the keys to the van. And he's like, you're promoted, you're a plumber now, your training's over, now go make me some money. That's what he says. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Sink or
I think,
swim, boy.
yeah, I think there's more to plumbing than this, but I'm just going with the flow, hoping for the best, right? So I get in the van and I have like no tools. Like I have like a channel lock and then I go buy a torch and stuff, I'm like I don't even know what tools to buy. No one even tells me what tools to buy. But to make a long story short, within the first month of me being in a van, I'm putting in a shower valve for the first time ever, and I light the damn house on fire. I hit the tar paper burst in flames, hit the insulation, everything.
Oh,
I was like, oh my God, help
what's
me.
going through your
No,
mind?
it's on fire, it's on fire. No, no. I freaking knocked the window screen out of the window. Thank God there was a window in that bathroom. I knocked the screen out. I go screaming around. Oh, there's a fire. I run to the backyard. I turn on the hose. I throw the hose inside the freaking window and then jam the hose inside the shower enclosure, like in the wall, and
Yeah.
squirt it all down. And like, thank God I was able to put the fire out. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was a breaking point for me. Because at that point, I called my service manager and I was like, hey man, I just let this freaking house on fire. I don't feel like I'm a good fit for this call. Please send a trained professional because
Because that's not me.
you light the house on fire. That's a good sign that
What's the homeowner saying at this point?
it's above your skill set.
Yeah, it's above your skill set a little bit.
Oh my goodness, help me. But thankfully I got it out. They brought somebody. But then I just started thinking, I was like, man, I had a bad experience in my training. I lit a house on fire. And the problem with me thinking these thoughts, like the next thought, which was to go find a new company to be an apprentice at. The problem with these thoughts was this is a big old company, dude, with the double truck with the laminated stuff. Like, bam, they were like big. 147 vans. They were the biggest company in Southern California during that time.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to think that I need to find a better place to work at, but I got myself together. I found a new place, and at the new place, I was an apprentice there. I told the owner, "Hey, man, I'm a plumber. I'm running calls, but I really feel like there's more to this plumbing thing. Can I please be an apprentice?" Right? And the owner was like, "Yeah, no problem." And basically, I was an apprentice for the 3 top producers. And that was an amazing learning experience. I learned how to make money on these calls. I learned how to do these calls, and it was great. And then eventually, I told the owner, "Hey, I'm ready to be a plumber." But the first year there was a learning curve, it was a struggle. Fast forward my life a couple years later, I'm killing it. I'm 22 years old, top producer, running circles around 95% of the people I was around. They made me a trainer. They paid me extra. Was killing it, dude. I was making a lot of money. I was loving my life. I was going out all the time. 22 years old.
Oh yeah.
Early 20s and making a lot of money. You're just like, woo. You're just living the life. You know what I mean? And I was really
no worries. No worries.
Yeah, no worries. You know what I mean? Like just no responsibility. And I just loved doing the trade. I loved making money. And then one thing I didn't even realize about myself was I really liked doing a different job, talking to a different customer, being in a different city. I loved all that stuff because prior to working as a plumber, I worked at Stater Brothers, where I was in like it's a grocery store, and I was basically a checker. I would just take the groceries and go beep, 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 beep. And the time would go so slow. Like I would look at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, I've only been here for an hour. It feels like I've been here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is even called, but I know whatever the hell that's called. When I became a plumber, that completely went away. There wasn't like enough hours in the day. And I truly loved being a plumber, different problem, different customer, like everything was different. And the time just went by so quick.
Absolutely.
And I made great money. You know what I mean? So I was like winning. I loved it. I actually loved it. But then this crazy thing happened called the Great Recession. And now I'm 25, right? So now I'm 25, and I don't even know what the hell. I never even heard of recession. I don't think we studied that in high school.
No,
Okay, so
they don't. They didn't teach us that
yeah,
stuff.
like that was not studied. Like I didn't take no economic class. I graduated. So the Great Recession hit, and I was like, "Oh my goodness! Like this must be bad." And it was bad because the place I worked at, they were so busy. Before the recession, it was just an amazing place to work at. They were so busy. I made great money, and they were always begging everybody to take extra calls. So that's the kind of situation it was. But then the Great Recession hit, and then man, we were lucky if we can get one call a day. And then by then I'm a seasoned plumber, and I'm asking other techs in the industry, other shops, and they're like, you get one call a day. We're lucky if we get one call every other day. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. So, like it really impacted the company. But prior to this Great Recession, or whatever,
Yeah.
in my mind, I remember thinking this, that I will start a company in my 30s. I'll start a company in my 30s when I'm a little more mature. I care less about having a social life, all that stuff. I'll be mature in my 30s, and then that'd be a good time to start a business. But I'm gonna enjoy my 20s, and I had a hell of a time. I loved the trade, loved making money, going out, good times. But the Great Recession sped up that process. And at 25, I had this amazing thought was, man, because one job a day was not cutting it. Like I started struggling and getting a little behind on my bills and all that. And the thought process I had was, hey, if I'm gonna be poor, if I'm gonna be broke, I might as well be poor and broke working for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I had that thought, I traded my truck in for a work van. I got my license, and then boom, in business, right? And the thing is that I really struggled. I struggled a lot. Like for the first four, now I was 25 when I started, and I know I was at least 29. Yeah, I was coming up on 30. I was 29 years old, and then I was reflecting on my life, and I was like, man, I haven't grown at all. I've just stayed the same for 4 years, almost 5 years, and I wasn't really happy. I think the 30th birthday is what like made me rethink my life. Like I'm about to be 30. I need to make a change. I need to start growing because at this point, to be quite frank, my life would have been 1,000 times better if I went and worked for a company and became one of the top salesmen. Like
Yeah.
and really that's what I was thinking then, but I didn't even know how true that was until I started scaling the business. And I'm like, dude, if you're a badass salesman clocking serious numbers, I'm telling you, like you're doing way better than most owners. And
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think enough people understand and appreciate how much more money that you can make
I
more.
know. I know selling techs in the HVAC space that are making
Yep.
$900,000,
Yeah, dude, to make
and I
900,000,
could say multiple of them right now.
to even make like 3, 4, 500,000, I mean, 900 is incredible, but like, dude, you're doing way better than most owners. There's no doubt about it. It's not even comparable. But
Absolutely.
so at this point, I'm like, man, I'd be way better being a good salesman somewhere. But I was like, man, I already put all these years in, and I already grinded it out, and it wasn't. I still put the work in. And I was reflecting back when I was a technician. When I was a technician, one of the things that lifted me up on sales was reading sales books, right? I read a couple sales books, and I was like, oh, like you read a sales book, and you're like, man, my little brain would have never thought of it on my own. It's like you read the
And
book.
it seems so simple to you. Like, how did I not think of that?
Yeah. So I know the thing is that like, the saying common sense ain't that common. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. I ain't got no common sense. Just give me a freaking book. I'll read it and I'll do whatever the hell the book says. I'm good.
Yeah.
Or give me a guru or give me something. I'll just go do it. I'm good. So, so since the sales books helped my sales a lot, I was like, man, I just need to buy some freaking business books and start reading those things because that's what did it last time. And I ended up buying a handful of books, but I read 3 books in a month. And those 3 books in a month just completely changed freaking everything. It rewired my brain and just helped me. A huge impact in my life. But one of the books that was the best one I read, and the reason why it's the best one I read out of the 3, even though all 3 were amazing, the best one is because the guy telling the story I felt was like just like me. And that's what's so important. You need to find someone that's just like you and that came up, like if you're
Mhm.
trying to, like I said, if you're trying to figure out business, if the accountant starts a business, I'm like, dude, I'm good. I didn't go to college. I'm not a freaking accountant. I was a plumber that started a business. I don't care what the accountant did. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I think that's
100%.
real important. That's an important distinction. You need to find someone just like you because that will make things click. So this guy was just like me. He was the book that I read was Mike Aguilera, um, The Secrets to Business Mastery or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I came across that book, and his story was so close to mine. This guy was an electrician that started an electrical company, and then just basically burnt his first 10 years. He burnt his first 10 years, stayed the same for 10 years. And then he had a breaking point. He engaged in personal development, taking action, all that stuff, right, that you have to do.
Yep.
And then the next 10 years, he got to 30 million a year, right? And once I read that book, I was like, oh my God, I only wasted my first 5 years. He wasted his first 10. He's an electrician that started a company. I'm a plumber that started a company. We're the same dude,
Same.
right? And then that's what made it click. And it was him that made it click because we were so similar. And I
He's
was
a
like,
good
okay.
guy too.
Yeah. So, dude, the book was awesome. I ended up reading a bunch of his books, and I met him in person, talked to him, and it lost all.
You ever go to any of his training events?
Yes.
Did you walk the
Years.
fire and everything?
I did an arrow to the neck,
Ooh,
and then I broke a board. I did some cool stuff.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Dude, Mike is his books are really good. I was really appreciative of that, and I joined his group, and then but this is I joined all and did all that afterwards. It was just the book, right?
Yes.
So I just want to kind of go back to the book, because the book is what I can do this, right? That's what happened, right? So, but I basically stayed the same for 4 or 5 years, right? Then I read his book, and then, dude, things were going off, and I was like, I know I can do this. This is going to happen. I can do this now. So from that point, I stayed the same 4 or 5 years, and then we doubled year over year in revenue 5 years in a row. So just for reading these 3 books in a year, no, I'm sorry, these 3 books in 30 days rewired my freaking brain. So we doubled 5 years in a row, top line revenue, doubled 5 in a row. Our 6th year, we grew by 60%. Then the 7th year, the business completely broke. I was trying to build a skyscraper on a slab foundation. I regrouped. I made hundreds and hundreds of freaking training videos, like hundreds and hundreds of onboarding, and this is how you do plumbing, this is how you do everything. Like, it was a huge undertaking, and I have ADD, and I managed to make hundreds and hundreds of videos in a year. For me, that's like I was able to focus to make hundreds of videos. That was crazy, right? So that was a tough year, because I really had to humble myself that I was trying to build a foundation on a residential slab. I was trying to build a skyscraper on a residential slab, and I had to put my ego to the side and make some real changes. But anyway, I made those changes. And this year, we have 3 locations, but only 2 of them are up and running. But in 2023, we're on pace to grow by at least 45%. And the 3rd location, we're in possession of it, but it's not online all the way yet. If that thing works as well as I think we're gonna grow by 60%. And all that happened was because I read a couple books, I watered my mind flower, and I took some freaking action. And like, if it wasn't for that, I would have stayed the same for maybe 10 years, like Mike.
Yeah.
So I'm real thankful for that.
One thing that I want to talk about is you said that 5 years you double. 6 years 60%. 7th year, I think you said 40%.
No, we stayed flat. We
stayed flat,
the
and
business
then
broke. Yeah.
and then 2023 about 45%, and then hopefully adding that another company is going to do another 60%.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your total revenue year 1 to 2022?
Year 1 to 2022. I think I wrote it down somewhere. So we went from 2015, we're in the 300,000 range. We went from 300,000 to 600,000 to 1.3 to 3 point something and some change to 6 to almost 12, and then 18. And this year, we're on pace to do 26 million just out of the 2 shops. And I really think that our 2nd location has worked out so well that the 3rd one, when that thing starts cracking, we may be able to hit 28, 30 this year. And that was another learning lesson. Like, I should have started and branched out and did the whole hub and spoke model, where you make little locations all over the place. I should have done that sooner. I got to tell you, if you want to learn from my mistakes, definitely not setting up little locations sooner has cost me millions and crazy millions. So I just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. Those are seeds and nuggets. Y'all should be taking notes. Let me ask you a question. Anthony, coming up with All City Plumbing, where does the name come from? What made you come up with that? Where'd the logo come from?
Yeah. So the name, which is really funny that I'm so old, to, I started in the phone books, right? So you had to have an A, you know what I
Those are
mean?
the days.
Those are the days I started in the phone book
You
days.
wanted to be the number one?
Yeah, yeah. So you had to have you had to be an A, and it was like I already knew phone books. You have to have an A, and I didn't know what A to do. But when I was driving to take my contractor's test, I was driving behind All City Limousine, right? And I'm like, cool, yeah, that's an A name. I think the stars lined up. It was meant to be All City Plumbing, and that was it because the only thing in my mind was primed to do was have an A name because of the phone books. And as far as the logo, so that was another thing. Like it wasn't just the books that helped us double 5 years in a row, and it was like you tweak this little thing, tweak this little thing, tweak that little thing, like implement these. When you're small, if you implement two, three things, you'll double. I guarantee it because I did it. And then when you're small again, and when you double, you only need to do a few things. It's crazy. Like I know like, it's a cool soundbite. Oh, I doubled year over year, blah, 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 blah. But like really, when you're small, you can make a couple minor adjustments. That your things are going off. So one of the good investments that definitely was part of that doubling process was getting in contact with Dan Antonelli, and he
Kick
rebranded the
charge.
company. Yeah, and that was scary because like
It's a
we're
big
still
investment.
small. Yeah, we're a small company, and the reason why it was scary was because I already had, I don't know how many vans, but I was in the teens, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to pay Dan plus rewrap all these vans, plus get cards, plus get uniforms. I was like, oh, I'm scared, but like I did it, and it was one of the best things I did. And I got to tell you, like, the value I got from that and the lift I got from that, Dan should really double his prices. If even if he doubled his prices, it would still like even if I paid 2 times more what I paid, I'd be like, man, you gotta hit up Mr. Dan because his stuff
It's
is
Yeah, he does amazing things. He's done a couple events of mine and was talking about the power of branding and everything. And,
good.
what he does is just through the roof across the nation, right?
Mhm.
And what I like about it is, Kick Charge, when they make something, it's theirs. I look at your truck branding and I know it would come from something Dan Antonelli would come up with.
Yeah.
And it's not all mascots or anything. Yours is a beautiful brand, All City up front with the plumbing, with skyscrapers.
Yep.
And I think it's an absolutely just home run knock out of the park right there. Talking about, branding the trucks, that being a scary investment to maybe a business owner that has multiple trucks. Talk about just biting the bullet, how that felt for you. And again, your outcome was through the roof. But talk
Mhm.
about, like, you got to either pull the trigger. What made you do it?
Yeah. So what made me do it was I can't really tell you the exact thought process before I hired Dan. But I just noticed that the years that we doubled, like I did something scary, I implemented something, and then we double. Like one of the years was like, oh, we got service tightened. Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't when you're a small contractor just starting off. And like I said, once again, it's a cool sound, but oh, we doubled 5 years in a row. But I'm telling you right now, like if I was a guru and you were giving me money, I'd be like, well, don't give me too much money because if you just do these three things, your stuff's doubling. And the
Yeah.
next year, do these three things, and you know what I mean? Like it's just like when you're more experienced, and then you kind of go through that process, and the reason why I know that I could be helpful off of just saying a couple words was about a little over a year ago. I had a seminar at my shop, and basically the seminar, all I wanted to do was help like the local contractors, right? And it was just weird. It's not like I'm trying to be like a seminar guru, or I'm not. I have no interest in doing that. But this just a weird turn of events, and I just want to share this, okay? Because it will help make things make more sense. So I'm in my truck, parked somewhere. I don't even remember where I'm parked. I'm just parked in my truck, and my truck has a logo, All City logo on the back of the truck. And then this weird van pulls up, unmarked van, white van, and this dude jumps out and he knocks on my window and he's like, "Oh my God, are you Anthony with All City Plumbing?" And I'm like, maybe. Who the
Who's
hell are you? You know?
asking?
Yeah, like I didn't know. It was just weird, you know. Like who knocks on your van and gets like, you know, like that. But and then next thing you know, this guy, he's a contractor. He has one van and he's struggling, and he asked me for some tips, and then he said that, hey, I have friends in the industry that are struggling too, you know. So I was like, okay, well, I was like, hey, how about you get all your friends together and then I'll like just talk to them all at once and just kind of like get it going, you know? Because I wish someone did that for me because man, I burnt all those freaking years, you know? So,
Yeah.
but I tasked this guy to do it. So he called people, he set up the thing, he got the food and the drinks. Like I didn't do anything. I just met the dude. I'm just like sitting parked. He says blah blah blah, and I'm like, cool, I can help. I mean, I'm willing to help, right? And he set up everything. He set up like a mini seminar, and there was like over 20 contractors there.
Love it.
And at my shop, I have a pretty cool like mic and sound system and a million speakers, you know, so I can go up there and pretend I'm Tony Robbins, like, hey. So anyway, so all these 20, you know, over 20 contractors came, and to make a long story short, uh, I, you know, gave them worksheets and dropped all kinds of knowledge and just all kinds of things. But then I followed up with them a month later, 2 months later, or whatever, and none of them did anything. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Because at the time I had this event, not that I'm some like crazy titan business owner over here, but like at that time, all 20 of those companies combined weren't even close to the size of mine, right? Just to put things in perspective, like
Mhm.
20 companies, not even close to the size of mine, and they didn't really like listen to me. They didn't take any action. It was
Isn't that
crazy.
insane?
Yeah, it went in one ear and out the other, and it was wild. But one person got into the seminar, and it was supposed to only be for business owners only. And but I don't know if you got that message or what. But anyway, he was in there, and he was still working for somebody, and he was there during the seminar. This dude has actually took action on the stuff, right? And he actually kind of listens to me, and he texts me every once in a while. But anyway, to make a long story short, this guy went from at that seminar a year ago, no license, no van, no nothing. He was working for somebody. Now, after his first year, he has 6 vans on the road, and he just got the keys to his shop last week. And
Love it.
I was like, damn, dude. I was like,
Get
hey,
it.
I was like,
Get
I knew something. All someone had to do was
Yo,
listen,
just
you
one
know?
person, just
Yeah,
one person
only like one
listen.
person. But that's why I know I can never be a guru and like take people's money or whatever the hell it's called, because I'm telling you, there was over 20 companies there, and I only got one person to listen. Only one, right? So I'm like, I don't know. You know, maybe I need to up whatever that's called. But to make a long story short, this guy's doing incredible, dude.
Love
And
it.
and I don't know. I don't know why I shared that. I forgot what we're talking about.
No, it's absolutely amazing that you shared that because the way that you're giving back to the industry, right? So putting on a seminar, a lot of I should say a lot of business owners wouldn't put themselves in that situation where they're going to invite their competitors in, right? And have an open conversation of, hey, this is what I'm doing. A lot of companies will, but a lot of companies won't. It speaks volumes that you're one of the ones that is willing to. And again, taking action. That's a perfect example right there of 20 contractors not taking action. And one person that wasn't a business owner, he was employed, right?
Mhm.
No business license, no truck, now has 6 trucks on the road. He's buying his first office. That's absolutely amazing and speaks volumes of what you can do just to help someone.
Yeah. So and the thing is that I know that this guy has the stuff. He'll listen and take action, and he's going to be a person that doubles year over year too, you know. And then hopefully down the road, he'll have a seminar and one person will listen to him, you know. And like
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
give back again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Anthony, I got to ask you, as a business owner, what you've done in the industry and the trades is absolutely amazing. What is it that drives you, your purpose, and your why?
Um, so a couple things drive me. So when I first started the business, Um, the main thing that drive me was to build a great company to work at, because my background, I think that's why I shared the background with the whole drug thing, you know, and the training. So that was like my first driving force. Like I want to build a great company where people get properly trained and they go to homes and provide 5-star service. I just wanted to have a company that I can be proud of. You know, I didn't really think about too much about the money because I'm not saying that I'm rich or anything, but prior to making, whatever money I make, I never really thought that the money was going to bring me happiness. Like my income went from here to like, my income's crazy now as far as my standards are concerned.
Yeah.
But I just, I noticed that like after you get out of living to, paycheck to paycheck, you don't really
The
feel too
rat
much like,
race.
yeah, like once whatever that's done, like whenever that's done, you don't feel like, too much after that. That's just my
You
opinion.
don't think about it.
That's my experience. Yeah. It's just, so my why originally was to build a great company, but I kind of like I have a plumbing school inside my shop. We send guys out to sales training. So like all of the resources that I wish I had, which my company has now. So it kind of like made that happen, on a small scale, right? But what I wanted to happen definitely happened, and I'm proud of that. But now my why is like um, I really want to be able to give back in a way where I'm able to do something with two things. Like, but for me to do these two things, I do have to keep growing, and I guess I have to become a gazillionaire because you can't help anybody if you can't help yourself, right? When you're on a
Yeah.
plane, the plane's going down, you put your shit on first. Like,
Yeah.
you don't help nobody. They even tell you on planes,
Yeah.
put your
Don't do
phone
your
first,
kid
right?
first. You put yours on first.
Yeah, but now I'm like, man, I gotta for the two things now, because I already did my first thing. The two ththings I want to do now is going to require probably a significant income or significant networking. And two of the things I want to do is one thing I want to do is do some. I have two dogs and I love my dogs. Like I grew up with dogs, and I never really had that like connection, But like I love my dogs. Like I think if a bullet came, I would jump in front of it, because I really love them. And I didn't understand that, but like when you get a puppy and then you raise a puppy,
Uh-huh.
like something happens there,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So now I'm like, dude, people take dogs to the pound and then they get put down and then
It's a
like,
bigger
like
purpose.
and people are paying 5 Gs for a dog when they go to pound and save a life. So
Mm-hmm.
so two things now. I want to become a gazillionaire so I can buy a big plot of land and do something where make a no-kill shelter. Like that's just crazy, you know what I mean? Like whatever that's called, I want to do something like that. And then another thing I want to do is do something with like the whole drug thing. Um, just because my experiences right away in the plumbing community was drugs, and over the years I've hired a lot of recovery and drug addicts, and I
Yeah.
had people relapse and do crazy shit. And I just from personally seeing all this over the years, I really want to do something to where I can help change the conversation where they don't need to go to jail. They're just going to go to jail and rot. Like they need help. Like they need,
Mm-hmm.
rehab. They need a therapist.
The bigger purpose.
Yeah, like it's just drugs should be a health problem, not like, oh, you're a bad person. No,
Abs-
like it should be a health problem. And like ultimately those are the whys. But like, the thing is I need to put my own mask on first. Like I need to like, but those things right there, I know that if I was able to build enough wealth to tackle those two things in some way, if I'm on my deathbed, I'd be like, dude, I did some pretty cool shit with my life.
Absolutely, 100% giving back, making a huge impact. Anthony, as we're ending this podcast, I have listeners from business owners, sales professionals, installers, technicians, supervisors, managers. What would you like for them to get out of this episode of HVAC Masters of the Hustle?
I think one of the things I would like for them to get out is it's never too late. Like Mike Aguilera wasted his first 10 years or burnt his first 10 years. I burnt my first 5. And then basically it's never too late, right? And then you just need to come to realization that the hardest thing to do is to believe you can do it first. And there's so many ways to learn. There's so many ways to get that belief that you need in yourself. Like you can listen to podcasts. Podcasts is a great way. You can physically read books. You can listen to audiobooks. You can join best practice groups. You can get a mentor. You can start DMing people on Facebook. Hey, dude, help me out. Like you just got to keep going until like you wake up the giant in you. Like Les Brown, there's greatness in all of us, and there really is. But it's your job, your duty, your responsibility to wake that MFer up. You know what I mean?
That motherfucker up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. I'm super excited I was able to get you outside your comfort zone, and you look so natural in it too.
Oh, thanks for the first one. Yeah, that's good.
Right. Until next time, take care.
All right, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Boom.